I think emotional dysregulation is something we see a lot in college students, young adults in general. There's a whole bunch of research where we talk about young adults moving into successful adulthood. And a lot of that involves the ability to deal with stress. We have a lot of kids who are great at school, but they're not very good at tolerating distress.
For me, resilience looks like the ability to overcome, our own personal situations. That can be as simple as, we're having a bad day, so how do we bounce back from that? Or it could be, the ability to handle something much more stressful, like losing a friend or a parent or maybe even a teacher. And so being able to kind of, like I said earlier, self-regulate our emotions, it starts with us. And, if we're not taught at a young age how to do that, then of course we're going to grow up and feel overwhelmed and anxious.
We talk about, these crucial stages of development in childhood and the difference that good bonding and good parenting and a supportive environment can make. And I think it's easier to see the consequences of it when we look at kiddos who haven't had that, and then the struggles that they have. And we talked about difficulty regulating emotions earlier. We learn that from our parents. That's modeled behavior. And so if you have either, a difficult home life where maybe your parents are fighting all the time in front of you, or your parents are absent, there's no one there to model those adaptive ways to cope with emotions. Because again, anger is not always a bad feeling, depending on what we do with it.
One of the things I think we start with is a vocabulary of emotions. It's really amazing how none of us are really good at naming how we feel. A dramatic experience I had with some students who were a classroom of boys in summer school that had never passed any end of course test. So they came to my class, let's just say, skeptical about what was going to happen there. And I tried everything I knew, every trick I knew to try to get them, trick them into English, trick them into writing and reading, and they resisted all of it. And out of sort of desperation, I said, let's think about the word mad and all the different ways we can talk about mad, because I see that you're all very mad, but let's find other words. And they were fascinated with understanding that there are sort of 88 keys on the piano, so to speak, where they were just using mad. There was this whole range of emotions that they could name that they were feeling. And I would never have thought that those boys would have been interested in that, but they loved it. And we jumped off of that to storyboard, like tell me an experience, draw it out of when you felt this. Now tell the story, now write the story. Oh, they loved it. They absolutely loved that because it gave them this agency to say, this is what's going on inside of me that I never had a name for.
Today I worked with a 5-year-old on a very similar thing, and he wasn't having the best day, so we got up and we did a couple of yoga poses. And for every pose, I repeated something to him. I am kind, I am brave, I am strong. And I just told him that he has the power to be kind and that kindness can spread everywhere. And we talked about the difference of how he feels when he does something nice for someone or is kind to them versus if he, hits somebody else in class or, yells at somebody. And even at that young age, just getting him to be there in the moment with me, I think really made a difference.
Strained interpersonal relationships and sudden outbursts of anger can be signs of emotional dysregulation.